Oh, that's classic, that is. So I've just realised I've been talking for about 2 minutes there with the microphone off. So apologies for that. There you go. Noob streamer. It's just I've been away for a bit and still getting back into it. So hopefully you can hear me now. So again, shout out to Raman who said hello. Hey, good to see you. Glad you can make it. I hope it's all going well with you. Let me know what's going on. Just got back from travelling, so it's all a bit rushed, which is probably why I screwed up the start of the stream there. Hey, but we all make mistakes. And I was just talking about what I'm going to go through here. So essentially we got 3 things I'd like to do this stream. Firstly, I've got a video that I'm about halfway through, which I should be getting out within the next day or so. Got probably about 3 or 4 hours left to do on the editing and everything else. That's on weapon mods. I think it's stuff that most of you will all know because, you know, you're fairly experienced players. I think most of you who come onto the stream. And so, you know, we'll go through it pretty quickly. Hey, Ryan, how's it going? Good to see you back. So we'll go through that, just talk through. It really was around what I felt were the best weapon mod combos, and it'd be great actually when we go through that to hear what you guys think as well, what you think are the best combos, and if there's any that you would pick over the ones that I pick. Then I got sent a build, I think it was at the back end of the of last week, from one of my subscribers. Devastator build. Seems to be a lot of Devastator builds coming up, and maybe that's because they've been pretty underserved so far. I think, you know, they haven't really had the love, so it's good that we're giving them some love now. What they sent me, I think, was a reasonable build. It was a good build, but there's a few tweaks that I thought I'd make to it that, you know, came to me. And I thought it'd be good to run through my thought process, because it might give you all a few ideas as well as you're building your builds as well and playing around within Outriders. And then, you know, if we've got time, then hopefully we will have. Let's take it out for a test run, the actual build, and let's get a few people, you know, who are on who can join me, and we can see how it fares in a group setting, see if it's any good, whether I should actually make the video on it or not, and we'll see. So that's really what it's about. The other video actually I'm working on at the moment is about Tiny Tina's Wonderland. So really it's the videos from the point of view of why should you play it, and I think particularly from the point of view of people who play Outriders, people who play Division, Destiny and others, you look at Tiny Tina's and say, oh God, I can't stand, you know, that sort of style of graphics. I don't necessarily like the humour, I don't like the gameplay. Well, I think there's a lot of things in actually Tiny Tina's that give me some hope that it will be a game that we will like. Yeah, because I'm from the same sort of background, that Division background, Destiny and now Outriders. And to be fair, you know, I played Borderlands 3 and, you know, it was just, the story was awful. I think, you know, I've got hopes that it's going to be a lot better. So that video should be coming out. That one, the script's written. The weapon mods is pretty much done. I've just got all the editing to do, really, which takes me a fair amount of time. To give you an idea, probably a 6-minute video takes me roughly about 6 hours to produce. After I've done it, I've got all the footage, really from the point of view of editing the video, from creating the thumbnails and things like that. So it's not a quick process, and maybe I'm just slow at it. It's quite possible, but it certainly it takes me a little bit of time. So let's go on to have a look at some of these weapon mods first. Oh, good to hear, Ryan. Actually, gotta make sure hopefully there's no latency. Let's just check what's set on here. It's low latency, so it should be pretty quick response to anything you type in, and there's no delay on the typing, so be clean. It has the same skills. Awesome, great. Well, let's have a look at it and see if you got the same thoughts as me. But I'm actually going to jump over to the weapon mods first, and we'll come back to that one. Not too long. And I put all of the weapon mods onto one character just to make it a little bit easier. Okay. All right. So when I looked at the weapon mods, I looked at them, broke them down into 2 buckets, really, into anomaly power builds and 2 firepower builds. I think they're very different in the type of weapon mods that you want to go for. Hey, Tempest, how's it going? Actually, I saw Tempest. I saw you on the Babylon stream, the Lost Art one, the other day. Let me know if you're getting into that game and if you've played it at all and what you think of it. I'm probably going to be playing it, most likely. A friend of mine has said they're going to be picking it up, so I think I will probably jump in. I am on Xbox, Monk. I am indeed. Are you? Let me know. I mean, happy. I mean, so if you want, when we run some stuff, we can run some later. And if you ever see me on playing Outriders, you can always jump in and join me. But let me go through them. So I broke them down into two buckets. So anomaly power, firepower, builds. And I think for me, the top three anomaly power weapon combos, I think they're all the ones we probably know about. I mean, in three, I would put the usual, the Moaning Winds Radiation Splash, Reload Nuke. So I'm assuming everyone has seen that. If you haven't, and you don't know how to use it, just in case you're brand new to the game, it's pretty simple. Is you just literally emptying the mag, waiting, and then every 8 seconds, I'm not counting, I hope you are, that's probably about it. You can swap to it, triggers, and before actually reload does again, you swap back out of it, and it will then be ready after the next 8 seconds. And that's literally it. It's great. It does a lot of damage. The only real downside to it is when they brought the global cooldowns in. So that came in with New Horizon, I think it was, where the for Moaning Winds, for any of those Moaning Winds now, if it's on any gun on here, how do you stream to YouTube mags? I can't seem to figure. Oh yeah, sure. I'll get on to basically, you need a video capture card, Monk. I've got the Elgato HD60S Plus, which is a 4K capture card. I'm actually only running on 1080 at the moment, so I'm not running 4K, but I've got that. And basically, I can't remember how much they are. They're not that expensive, maybe a couple of hundred. And basically, then all you're doing is you're feeding the one HDMI cable into the capture card. And then the other HDMI cable coming out, that goes to your monitor so you can see what's going on. And then there's just a USB that goes into your laptop, and then you can capture it. And it comes with its own software where it allows you to capture that. And you can do it in two ways. You can either do it as a video, or you can just do it as I'm doing now, which is I'm on using OBS Studio, which is one of the streaming platforms out there. It's free, which is great. And so the two you'll probably see a lot of are OBS Studio and Streamlabs OBS. And you might think they're the same, and they're absolutely not. Streamlabs basically ripped or took OBS, which is free, it's openware, and anyone can use it, and people will then adapt it as well and build stuff onto it with mods. Streamlabs took it, put their sort of logo and branding on it, and then sell it. So I don't like Streamlabs because I think that's what they tend to do. Streamlabs is they tend to take other people's stuff, put their own skin on it, and then put it out. So I'm with the OBS Studio. It's pretty easy, and basically all it's doing is it's pulling feeds from things like your audio feeds, like the mic, the game sound, and then it's picking up the video as well. It has got things you can put on things like subscriber alerts. I don't think mine are working yet, but yeah, you can do, and you can stream to either to YouTube or to Twitch or to anywhere else really, to Facebook as well. I guess is the other one, which no one I guess does. Yeah, Streamlabs, there's a few recently they've had Tempest, and I'll get back to what you said in a second as well, Tempest. I can't remember what it was, but they put out, there's like the Stream Deck, which I can't remember who developed that, whether that was OBS as well. And Streamlabs came out with their own Stream Deck, and they even just called it Stream Deck. And then there's other stuff that they've come out where you can see it's a complete rip, and I think they got caught recently when they mocked up they had a web page they developed for a new product, and it was an exact copy of someone else's, and they just basically changed the name to Streamlabs on it. They didn't even change. There was like sort of customer feedback or reports on the piece of software that they were selling, and they hadn't even changed them. They'd used the same ones, and they went and said, "Oh, it was just a mock-up we were doing," and it's just like bullshit. Streamlabs just rips it. And so you're streaming on YouTube with music, so I get that. Could I use OBS to stream Twitch? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, could you use it to stream to Twitch? Probably. I'm not sure. You need somewhere, if you're coming from the Xbox though, you need somewhere to get the Xbox into your laptop, obviously. So I suspect that you will need to get some sort of capture card for video or for sound. I'm not an expert at that. I would say there's quite a few good streamers out there. So there's Alpha Gaming, who's now changed their name to Senpai. He does a lot of stuff on OBS and all the stuff you can get, like, you know, like the Stream Deck, which is great, which I must get one eventually. It's just a little box where you hit a button and, you know, I don't know what it might, you pull up like the intermission screen or pull a different feed from somewhere else. You know, but I'd say, yeah, so I'd say watch some of those stuff and work out what you need, Monk, and that's probably your best thing. Tempest, on Lost Ark. Okay, you got the Razer Ipsol. Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, I think there are various different options on what capture you're going to use. Oh yeah, no, I've heard that they've had problems with Lost Ark in terms of just how many players are playing. I think they peaked to something like over 1 million concurrent players, didn't they? On I guess on Steam for Lost Ark, and you know, we beat New World, which was the last record. So it's getting some incredible view, and it's just blown up all the servers. I think from what I've heard of Lost Ark, it's the leveling is pretty awful. It's very repetitive. Fairly boring, to be honest. It gets really good when you get to the end game, which is that. I don't know if you ever watched Josh Strife Hayes. Does some great videos, but he did the one on the it takes 100 hours before it gets good and why that shouldn't be the case. And it's another one of those. So yeah, I think just playing a stream with Twitch and watch that live on PC. Live there. You can do, yeah. You just playing a stream with Twitch and you might be able to. It's definitely work it. I mean, I'd say I do see that in terms of just sort of Let's Play channels, they're not as popular as they used to be. Yeah, if you went back sort of 5 years and you did a Let's Play, you could get some pretty good subs on YouTube and actually have a fairly successful channel. Nowadays, there's very few people who make that work. I think probably the only ones, yeah, I mean, I watch Apex Hound for some of his sports stuff, like the PJ 2K21, and for his FIFA stuff, and I watch some of those. But he does this, you see it, for his golf stuff he does, where he's been playing that for years. He is probably the expert on the game. And he's also quite amusing because every time he plays, he blows up and just loses it. And I think that's what everyone watches him for, really, just for him to blow up. But then his other Let's Play stuff, no one even watches that, and he's got 150,000 subscribers. So I think it's really tough to get a Let's Play to take off. You have to bring something else to it. So in my case, you know, mine is all about the builds, and that's what I'm trying to bring to it. As well as when I do these streams, I'm not just playing, I'm trying to bring you something else as well. And I think that's what you've got to try and bring in if you are going to start streaming and you want it to take off, and then just keep at it and make sure you're in a niche. That's all I'll say. If you try and do too much too widely, it just doesn't work. Yeah, because basically the YouTube algorithm is trying to find videos for the audience. It's not the other way around. They're not trying to push your videos to someone. They're trying to match, saying this audience person likes this. What is the content they would like? And then tries to find that for them. And so you've got to work out, well, okay, and the challenge you have is if you're playing 20 different games, it's just going to go, well, I don't know what your audience really wants. So try and keep it. I started very wide doing reviews, same as you, Monk. And yeah, and realised that because I was doing reviews on different games every time, even though I love doing it, and Skill Up is one of my favourite reviewers, I wish I was as good as him. He's brilliant. I love him, and hopefully he'll get to 1 million subscribers this year. But yeah, I've seen these reviews, but they're on a different game every single time, and so the algorithm just didn't know who was interested in them, and so my return viewers was almost none, and everything was new viewers, and that's really hard. Then I switched to focusing on just Outriders since the demo came out back in February. And that's where things started to take off. So if you are doing YouTube, yeah, work out what your niche is. Then you have to think about, okay, who is my audience? What is it they want? What is it they like? And you'll see that all of the, I don't know, Film Booth, vidIQ, Think Media, Nick Nimmin, all of the guys, channel makers as well, the guys who do sort of tutorials on how to do YouTube. That's one of the things they'll always say is, think about what your avatar is. What does it look like? Who is that person? And then work out what they want, rather than just putting your content you want to do out there. Anyway, so complete diversion. Sorry about that. That's cool. That's cool, Grubberlist. Hey, good to see you on as well. So Tempest, you were saying on Lost Ark. Yeah, Gunslinger. I saw Asmongold trying out looking at that. So he was looking, obviously, Asmongold always goes for the warriors, doesn't he? Which is, it's his fantasy, I think, of being this buff sort of berserker. And he ended up as the berserker, but I know the Gunslinger is like one of the advanced professions in that niche, that class is the right word, isn't it? No, that's cool, man. We'll go for it then. I mean, one of the things to look at as well is particularly if you're focusing on one game, is on Outriders, they have all the speedrunners. So you got people like Play-Doh Bear, Pomeranz, Full Metal, Sir Joseph, and you just go on to just search for Outriders speedruns, and you'll be able to go through to that. And they put out stuff, and you go to their channels on YouTube, and they don't get that many views. Someone like Play-Doh Bear gets more because he does, I think, some pretty good build guides. But most of them have maybe 300, 400 views because it's very niche. But they're doing it because they love speedrunning. And so I think, if you could do that, man, go for it. Anyway, let me try and go. So in terms of those guns, so as I said, on weapon mods for the Anomaly Power, Moaning Winds Radiation Splash would be my number 4. My number 4, number 2. Oh God, I'm losing it. Number 3. My number 2 is very similar, but it's the Roaring Umbra for Anomaly Power builds. It looks very similar because you've got that Kinetic Stomp and Moaning Winds, so the Moaning Winds the same. In terms of overall damage, it's pretty much the same. So you got about just under 1 million damage. Yeah, you get it you get slightly more damage, in fact, from the Moaning Winds Radiation Splash Nuke. The big thing about it, though, is it's more precise. So you fire one bullet, and as long as it hits the target, your Kinetic Stomp actually triggers. Well, you don't have to do anything more then. You can just leave it if you wanted to. But if you want, you can then just reload to trigger your Moaning Winds, and it's ready again. You still got the cooldown on Moaning Winds, but it's more precise. And of course, with Siri's just trying to find out what I'm talking about. I hope she knows. It's just sometimes when you're fighting non-elites, particularly, you don't want to put out 1 million of damage because that's way too much, particularly if you're on a debuff build. You want to be able to hit with with the Kinetic Stomp for that 300,000. Scaled up, it might be 600 to 1 million of damage. That's enough to kill a non-elite. So you've got the Moaning Winds in reserve. The other thing, of course, is that the Kinetic Stomp triggers every 4 seconds. And so actually you can just keep doing it. You don't have to. You can basically get 1 extra Kinetic Stomp off. If you haven't got any other alternatives, most likely you will, because you're a Anomaly Power build with most of these things you're weaving in. Now, I'd say the one caveat between those two guns, between the Nuke and this one, depends on the type of build. You'll see in the build we're going to look at in a bit, I'm actually using the Moaning Winds Radiation Splash Nuke, just purely because it works better with how you're using your skills. You just want to be able to go bang, and that's it. Whereas if you're running some of the other builds, I think something like if you look at the Pyromancer World Record Speedrun build, well, that uses this Roaring Umbra because it wants to be able to, it's doing a lot of damage with its heat wave overheat ash blast, or heat wave ash blast overheat combo. If anything hasn't killed, it just wants to then be able to chip away at them with the Kinetic Stomp and the Moaning Winds. It doesn't want to be able to do the nukes the whole time, and it just works better with that build. So I think play around with that. The gun I think is the best for Anomaly Powers right now is the Funeral Par, modded with Shadow Comet and Claymore Torrent. And the thing that makes it so good is when you hit fire and it just procs multiple times. So in theory, I think it can do 4 Shadow Comets and 16 Claymores if you hit 4 enemies at the same time with 1 bullet. I don't think I've ever got that to proc. The best I think I got was 3 shadow comets coming down at the same time, and yeah, it's a carpet bomb, and you're doing just enormous amounts of damage. But yeah, that's what makes it so strong though, is you're going to be hip firing it and it just destroys. Yeah, no, exactly. And it's the fact that they can do multiple procs, and that's why your Funeral Pyre is better, say, than the Damascus Offering. Damascus Offering, you got the same mods. It's a good, solid gun, and for people who are just starting and they haven't got anything, yeah, go for it. If you've got one of those, and if you've got Shadow Comet, you've got Funeral Pyre, it's probably not true there, but it's a reasonable gun. It's got some nice skill life leads. You've got status power. It's reasonable, but it only hits once, and that's the thing where Funeral Pyre is so much better. Yeah, in terms of other guns, I think you could run with a anomaly power build. You could do the Air to the Desert, again modded with something like, you got Sandstorm or Shadow Comet. That's a 1 bullet gun. So you're literally, all you're doing is you're firing 1 shot and then going back to your skills. So it's a useful way to put out sort of 500,000, well in this case, what is it, 562,000 damage with 1 shot very quickly, and then to get on. Now, I don't like Sandstorm as much. I'm not quite 100% sure. When it triggers, I don't think it necessarily sticks with the enemy. It seems to stick in one place. So it can hit multiple enemies, but if the enemies are moving, then they move out of range of it, it seems. I need to probably do a bit more testing on that. Yeah, I can say, actually, that's a good point, Orion, because, of course, you don't have the volume of enemies in Eye of the Storm. And so actually being able to hit one shots, it could be really good. On Damascus Offering the Jam. All right, very good. The final one I'd say for anomaly power is the Jugular, which not a bad roll on that one, by the way. 99.2, almost got the God roll, but it was close. That's modded, obviously, as you can see, with Scrap Grenade and Grand Opening. Again, it's a 1-shot weapon. You do need to hit the target. So if you don't hit the target, yeah, that's right. Fair enough, Ryan. Yeah, they're quite a lot of the way. Yeah, no. Does the Locust one? I don't know. That's on the rifle, isn't it? Hang on. The 1-shot rifle. Is it the 1-shot rifle it's on? I don't know if I got one of those in here. Yeah. Yeah, well, that might be more effective then, particularly if you can hit your shots. So maybe rather than, but you're not going to want to. Well, you could put it on that weapon, couldn't you? And then just it's got very quick reload speed on it. I mean, that's quite an interesting combo as well, wouldn't it? I mean, you could put Ravenous Locust and Grand Opening on it, and you've got quite a nice weapon there as well. But yeah, I do like Jug. I think it's fun just because it's just the explosion, but you do have to hit your shots again because if you don't hit with Grand Opening, it doesn't do anything, and because it's on the first bullet. I think that's good idea. I think I used it on the Jugular as well. The other good thing, of course, is the fact that the reload's so quick that you can just keep doing it. So it's quite nice from that respect. So it's actually, you can put out pretty reasonable damage with it if you want. Hang on one sec. Apologies. Okay. Checking in with the person in charge of the house. Yeah, so that's the anomaly power ones that I think are definitely I would be my top 3, and then sort of your honourable mentions. On the firepower builds, you're really talking about a few options. So I go through a few more. Some of these are honourable. So definitely an honourable mention would be the automatic shotgun with ultimate damage link and perpetual mobile. particularly with that sort of spec, with armor piercing, close range damage. I think the third stat could be status power, could be skill life leech, could be weapon leech. Probably best for a Devastator, and that's where the armor piercing comes in, is really good. And for the Devastators, the ultimate damage link just works so much better than other classes. That particular gun, well, not obviously that gun, but a gun like that is what Dude with a Blunt used to do Boomtown on a Devastator in 3 minutes 17 seconds, which is just it was just an incredible run. But it shows that weapon can work very well. The other one I think probably gets an honorable mention is great for tricksters, and this one as well is used on the trickster, one of the tricksters world record runs, let me just do that. Okay. Obviously Death Shield still a great weapon. The Fortress is useful where, particularly for classes like the Trickster, where the healing mechanic is not the easiest in the world to get the most out of. So it gives you that little bit of armor and resistance, which is great. And in fact, if you actually look on the Trickster's world record build, I think I did do a video on that one. I actually brought in damage absorber because I wasn't, even with Fortress, I was like, I probably need a bit more than that just to stay alive. I think it's a good solid. And then obviously Dark Sacrifice is a great one for the weapon damage. It's probably the best non-class specific mod in the game for weapon damage, as I think we all know. And with the Trickster, it works really well because, of course, you've got all the shields. So, you don't have that disadvantage of if you've got lower health. You're going to start chunking into it with this particular mod. The shield isn't affected by it, so it's quite a good one to run with the Trickster. I think for me, the number 2 for me is one of two. It's the Fatal Symbiont with Dark Sacrifice and probably with Killing Spree on it. I think it's a single target or ultimate damage link for the Devastator for the multiple, or the Amber Vault with Killing Spree and Dark Sacrifice. I think those doubling up, and I think it's just a great combination. You're getting these 150% weapon damage, which is just brilliant. And so definitely there. Now, of course, the only exception to all of this isn't appropriate on the class I'm running at the moment is if you're running Borealis Monarch, then Ultimate Freezing Bullets should probably replace out one of those two, whichever one you want on those. And I actually think, the number one gun is actually, it's still the Tactical Assault Rifle. That's actually a sharpshooter, so I need to just swap that over. But the Tactical Assault Rifle with crit damage, long range damage, and close range damage, it's still the best firepower gun, particularly for Technomancers. There we go. Bone shrapnel is just, you need it, particularly if you're running a rounds based build, which you most likely will be. I wouldn't use this on a Devastator where you want to be up close, and I wouldn't use it on a Trickster necessarily if you're going to be up close, because you're usually not going to hit the shots, to be honest. But particularly for the Techno, and even for a Pyromancer, you go with this one. It does huge damage. You want Bone Shrapnel because if you have a damage mod on it that triggers before the kill, it will steal the kill. And you don't want to do that, or else your Toxic Leg, your Vampiric Mag, they're just not going to actually trigger, and you're going to run out of the round space pretty damn quickly. So any of the ones like Death Chains, Claymore, anything that's going to hit, you don't want a Shadow Comment on there. You don't want anything that's going to trigger, or any of the crit ones. And I wouldn't use a crit one myself because I'm on an Xbox and hitting crits is not that easy. But obviously if you're on a PC you might want to, but don't use them with this build, with this weapon or a rounds build, because you'll lose rounds before you know it. Just not worth it. So stick with bone shrapnel. It's a great one. I wouldn't even go for ultimate bone shrapnel, because again, you can potentially lose the kill there. So for me, I think, you know, the assault rifle, tactical assault rifle like that is the #1 firepower mod, weapon or weapon mods in the game, and definitely what everyone should be using for fight rounds. You could go for Inferno Seed as well. Wrath of Moloch could potentially steal the kill, but it just doesn't seem to do it to the extent that other ones do. And so again, that's solid. It hasn't got the close range damage, but you know, for a Technomancer in particular, you should be at long range. And then the other weapon you could use is Absolute Zero. It's a standard variant, so you're not going to get, it's not as punchy. I mean, the big thing about the tactical assault rifle is that it's about three of the bursts. So it does a 3-round burst, and it's about 3 of those. If you get any of those to crit, you're probably going to take down most elites with three shots. The big, it's basically the crit mult is so much higher. So you get 164% on that, and only 125% on the standard. Plus also just the base damage is that little bit higher because it is a 3-round burst. So I mean, you can use Absolute Zero. It's good with the Boreas Monarch gear set, but I just, you know, I think I would always go for the for just the plain old epic. And put ultimate freezing bullets on there. It's just a bugger to find. I mean, yeah, to get one that's got, I mean, you see that one's only 86k, so it's not a great roll. And so, yeah, you're trying to find one with exactly the same right stats. You need it to come with bone shrapnel. So it's pretty tough to get. And in which case, you might be better going with Absolute Zero or Inferno Seed, just because, yeah, you're going to get one of those to drop from Tiago eventually. Well, I'll tell you what, Monk, if you're, I'm just catching on some of the chat. If you're still on and you want to run some 15s, yeah, I'm very happy to. And also, if you want me to have a look at your build, just send it through to me. My email for this site is casual@nylcasualgaming.com. And if you email it, just go onto Outriders app, just search for that one and you'll find it. Bang it in, send it through, and I can give you a few sort of tips on how you might want to tweak it. The Pyro is definitely the strongest class in the game. It's very close, to be honest. I think Techno is probably the all-round best build. The Pyro has the potential to be, if you look at the speed runs, the Pyro probably has the slight edge. Okay. Then testing Ebola. Yeah. Yeah, and I wouldn't go with the one. The problem with one-shot snipers, or any of the snipers or rifles, particularly on Xbox or PlayStation, you know, playing with a controller, is it's just so hard to hit the shots, particularly when, you know, things are running at you so quickly. Now, if you can, brilliant. You're a better man than me. I tried to make a sniper build and it was so frustrating. I went, oh, I just don't want to do this. The other thing is that because of the healing mechanic of the Trickster, it only kicks in when you're in close range. So, you know, snipers, you want to be at long range. It's just not the right gun for a Trickster. The Trickster, basically, his best gun is one of two options. It's really an automatic shotgun, you know, something similar to that, you know, or the Death Shield, or it's the Fatal Symbiont. You know, I've seen some very good speed runs and very good builds using Fatal Symbiont as well. I wouldn't use anything else with a Trickster, to be honest. I think it's, yeah, trying to do a Trickster range is tough. The one if you want to use the Ebola, is use the Technomancer, probably the triple turret Technomancer, which I think is this one actually. Yeah, so with twins from the headgear, the crown of the Boreas Monarch, because that will just allow you to freeze enemies in place, and it makes it just a little bit easier to hit your shots. And then on the Ebola, you could probably, well, I wouldn't necessarily use Ebola because if you're going to be using a round space, well, if you're not using round space, great. You go for it with the Ebola. If you're using round space, the problem is, again, Ravenous Locust will take the kills away and you won't get it to work. But also, with Ravenous Locust, you've only got one shot. So unless you do one-shot kills, it's going to drop immediately. So yeah, don't use that gun at all with any round space builds. It'll be dropping the whole time. So there you go. So that video is going to be coming out hopefully in the next few days. Let's jump over to the Devastator and I'll take you through this build. I've just got to drop off for just 1 second. So let me just move it over to there. Let's take probably a minute break. And I'll be right back. All right, well, thank you for those of you who have stayed. Very impressed you did. All right, let's have a look at this. So this is, I'm going to start off with the exact build that was sent through to me. I can't remember the exact person who was, but I will give him a shout out in the video if it gets to that stage. So let's start. Skills, I think you've seen: Earthquake, Endless Smash, and Gravity. So, I mean, very quickly, you're starting to, you look at that and go, okay, the whole way this build is going to work is it's going to pop Earthquake, or it's going to pop Endless Smash, pull the Endless Mass, pull the enemies together, pop Earthquake, or do a Gravity Leap into them, and then an Earthquake, and then you're going to be using your weapon mods. It's using, these exact ones. It's using the Radiation Splash Moaning Winds nuke. And then it's also got the Shadow Comet Claymore Torrent. It's the classic. It's the classic. And even the pistol sidearm has got the Radiation Splash Clip Combustion, so you can get as many of those sort of AoE nukes as you want to on there. And I think that's fine. This is I think that's one of the top combos. The only thing I don't like about Endless Mass is it doesn't seem to trigger all the time. Particularly, I mean, on elites have resistance to it, or some resistance to it. So you can see it where if a Broodmother gets its absorbing skin at, this thing just bounces off. And same for the alphas, alpha perforers. Once you've broken that, then this will work. But it's a little bit frustrating if you're, in the middle of action and trying to pop it and it just bounces and nothing happens. So it's the one thing I don't like about Endless Mass, but other than that, it's a great skill for putting enemies together. In terms of the class that they send through, this is what they went through. So largely bottom tree. They went just a little bit in the top tree just to pick up really perpetual motion. Straight away, I don't like that, like what they're doing there, but we'll come back to what I would suggest. Then on the bottom tree, they're picking up, pretty much everything. Getting the cooldowns for the seismic skills, getting for the kinetic skills as well, all the anomalies, getting Executioner, picking up the extra armor you get from Protected by the Anomaly, the skilled sentry as well. So a lot of health they're picking up there, a lot of armor so picking up there, and they're picking up Earth's heritage. Then in terms of the mods they were picking up, they're applying bleed with Earthquake. So this is a debuff build in essence. You've got high intensity and endless mass, so you're doing that extra anomaly damage. You can see you can really quickly see how they've built this build, which is suck enemies in. You're going to get much more anomaly damage, only for 5 seconds, so you've got to be bloody quick to get it off. You're popping then you've got bleed on them for the debuff. You're going to be using Despair and Double Jump on Gravity Leap. There you go, so Despair. So you're racking up this anomaly damage to actually do as much of the make your Moaning Winds nuke as big as possible and do as much damage with that. And I think that's fine. You've got the same blood. It's using 3 pieces of the Seismic Commander's armor. It's got a lot of cooldown reduction, a lot of status power. It's the typical sort of stuff for a Devastator. Now, in terms of the bits that I would change, it's really to do with how I think Devastators were best. So what this build is actually doing is it's trying to buff its Earthquake damage and use Earthquake as a way to do damage. And then also with, the Endless Mass increasing the radius, which I just don't know if you get that much use out of it. Maybe I need to do a bit more testing of that. But I don't feel that. I think with just the normal radius, 25% on normal radius is not that much of a difference. And so I just don't think you get that much utilization out of wide horizons. But going back to, I don't think Devastators are anomaly skill damage builds. They're debuff builds. They just don't have the ability to ramp their anomaly power up high enough to make things like Earthquake do enough damage. It will do reasonable damage. You know, you're talking about, well, in terms of the skills, does 175,000 damage. You'll have all the debuffs. Wonderful. Similarly for Gravity Leap, 120,000 damage, and then it will get the debuffs and everything else. But it's just, that's not a lot when you think, okay, well, yeah, but my nuke's going to do 1 million. Okay, so I do 1 million there. Which should I be trying to buff? Should I be trying to buff Shadow Comet, Claymore Torrent, and my nuke? Or should I be trying to buff Gravity Leap and Earthquake? And to me, it's kind of like a no-brainer. No, if I'm going to go debuff, I want to go debuff. And I just don't think a Devastator works any other way, because it just can't ramp up its anomaly power. And what I mean by that is, when you look at the bottom tree, you've got Blood Donation, which is a healing. You've got a melee skill, which, I've built a melee skill, but it wasn't particularly fun to play. You actually buff your firepower with that one. And this is the only one on the bottom that actually buffs anomaly power. So you've got one, and it's for protection, which you go, well, hang on a second. So I've got to put a protection skill on rather than a damage dealing skill in order to get more anomaly power. Well, that's just counterintuitive as it is. So if you're ever building, and there's no real options here. So this one's resistance piercing. So, and what you see quite often on speedrun builds is they use this strong armor, the anomaly, coupled with unstoppable force to buff the anomaly power, which I think is fine. I just don't think it's worth it. And also, I'm crap at remembering to hit the melee. And this one doesn't do anything at all. So you look at it, you go, well, where are all my my options for buffing anomaly power? And there just aren't any in the actual Devastator skill tree. So don't do it. Don't try and buff anomaly power. It's just not worth it. Don't try and do damage through your skills. Do damage through your debuffs. And if I think you focus on that with Devastators, you'll actually get a lot more out of them. So in terms of what I'm proposing to change for this build is, I'm going to bring in Bloody Boost and Mosh Pit. So Bloody Boost obviously giving me that little bit of extra bleed damage. It's not multiplicative with the other bleed damage. So this is a big thing about how damage works in Outriders, is buckets of damage are multiplicative. So bleed damage, anything that increases bleed damage is 1 bucket. So anything within that bucket is additive, except unless it's actually from a gear set. So gear set bonuses are in a separate bucket. So in fact, when you look at it, so I've got 40% increase from the Tainted Blood and Bloody Boost, 50% from the gear set. What that actually translates into is 1.5 times 1.4. So it's about, it's actually 110% increase in damage, not a 90%. Well, Tempest, you're a better man than I am, because I just forget every single time. So yeah, if you can remember to use melee, it works really well on the Trickster as well, because there's one of the options on the Trickster is there's a melee that it's either does a debuff or it boosts anomaly power. I think it's anomaly power. It's like a 30% anomaly power buff for melee, and again, I always forget to use it. So it's just not something that comes naturally to me. So when you look at your debuffs, you actually want to think about buckets as well. So you got your bleed damage. You have things like the buffs to anomaly damage, like Despair. It's a separate bucket. So that's going to be multiplicative. So you're not going to get your double anomaly damage. It's actually going to be multiplicative with the other stuff as well. So it's much bigger. So yeah, so that's what I would change in terms of the mods. Is I would bring in those ones. So vulnerable is a separate bucket, so it's going to be a multiplicative. It's only 15%, sadly, because they did debuff it. If you look on the tooltip in the options, it says 25% still. It isn't. They brought that down to 15%. I still think it's a reasonable one. Is to add vulnerable to everything that's going to be impacted by endless mass. It's not brilliant, but it's worth something, and I'm sure you can play around with some of the other debuffs. Wouldn't change anything on the skills, but in terms of the class tree, there's a couple of things I would take out here. Good on you, Abu. I'm glad you forget as well. I'm not the only one. I don't think that's worth it. I don't think Earth's Heritage is worth it with this build. Now, I did actually build, my last build was used Impale. I actually did use that and actually got it to do reasonable damage. So I got it to do about 1.3 million of damage per Impale. So Impale might be the one where you go, okay, that does kind of work. But again, it was all debuff really. But I don't think Earthquake does. But I would get rid of that. I don't think you won't need this one with where I'm going to go. So you don't need the extra armor, and I don't think you need that skills life leech. Yeah, and I wouldn't pick up any of this top stuff. I think that's a good one to have. I think it's good to have that, but get to it through the middle tree, and so I'll show you what that looks like. One other thing to note is how resistance piercing works, and also armor piercing, because I think there's a lot of confusion about how those work and how those buff damage. So the way they work is, so if you have say you've got 30% resistance piercing or 30% armor piercing, and I say that because you get 30% from weapons, and this tree has 30% resistance piercing on it. That's going to reduce the anomaly and physical damage reduction of the enemies you're hitting by 30%. So if they only had 10% damage reduction, that 30% is only worth a 3% buff in damage. So it's absolutely pointless. Now, thankfully, for armor, the armors are quite different. So the Cremator, I think, has the most armor at about 85%. Funnily enough, the Breacher only has 10% for some reason, which is bizarre, but irrelevant. But yeah, the Cremator has 85%. So then when you work it out is that if you reduce 85% by 30%, that's about a 25.5% reduction in its in a Breacher's damage reduction from armor, from physical damage bullets. So you go down from 85. If you hit for 100, you do 15% damage with no armor piercing. But 85 minus 25.5 is 59.5. So now I'm going to do 40.5 damage if I have 30% armor piercing. And that is a 170% increase in your damage output. So armor piercing for elites makes sense. And then in fact the base enemies, just the non-elites, have about 25% armor. So even for them, 30% of that, all right, that's reasonable, but it's not massive. It's not gonna, but then again, do you really need that much for the non-elites? But for the elites, it's going to make a big difference for the armor. The problem with resistance piercing is that the maximum resistance that any enemy has, which I think is a Broodmother, but I need to look that up, is 30%. So 30% basically is going to, 30% resistance piercing is going to reduce their damage resistance to anomaly damage down from 30 to about 21-ish, I guess it would be about that. So you're going, okay, so rather than it doing 70, it's now going to be doing 79. So I'm actually only getting about 13% damage increase from taking 2 nodes. So it's not as good. Definitely not as good. Is it worth taking? If you have a better option, you might want to. So if you had, particularly in some of the other skill trees like the Technomancer, if there's something in there that will buff your damage by more than 13%, don't stack resistance piercing as much. It's just not worth it. So it's a bit of a funny one how those work. But let's clear this out. So first, I'm going to start, even though I'd said anomaly power is not that useful, I am going to pick up the bottom tree. And, the cooldowns are really useful. I am going to pick up the resistance piercing. I think you had some, but mainly because there weren't that many great other options. But there is probably one that actually some of you might want to use. I think execution is a great skill. I mean, all the classes I think have that execute skill on them. It's called wipeout, I think, on one of them. I can't remember what the other ones are called. But definitely pick it up. So at this point, it's pretty similar. I'm not going to take protected by the anomaly, but I am going to take skill sentry, and I'm going to take that of resistance piercing. So I know it's going to be about 13% damage buff. It's reasonable. Then I'm going to pick up in the middle tree, so I can get the cooldown. I actually like this one as well because you're going to be popping Earthquake. Earthquake's cooldown is 6.7 seconds. Sorry, not Earthquake. Gravity Leap's cooldown is about, with this thing, I love the way it never updates until after you move something in. So you got about 10 seconds on those. So you're going to be popping those pretty much every time. So you're going to have 15% damage mitigation, probably at minimum all the time, which is great. I mean, that is worth way more than armor because it impacts damage mitigation works for both physical and anomaly power. Plus, it doesn't have that issue of when you take the strong protected by the anomaly, it racks your armor up. The problem is that armor has diminishing returns. So once you get above a certain point, the percentage you have to increase it to get 1% better physical damage reduction just goes up and up and up until you hit the soft cap. So it's a curve basically. So as you closest you get to 85%, the less impact putting more armor on has. So there comes a point where it's like, well, what's the point? I can get, to get 1% extra damage reduction, I have to slap on 100,000 of armor. I'm not going to do it. And that's why I don't like slapping on lots of armor. I picked up 20% there. It's not as much as the 40% of anomaly power, but still it's a little bit of buff. And I think the damage mitigation that you're going to have up all the time more than makes up for it. Then with my last two, I would pick up blood donation because I just think it's such a strong healing mechanic compared to actually buffing, reducing damage. And for enemies like, the spider at the end of Molten Core, when you get those three bosses at the end of Frontline, it's great because you can apply bleed still, and bleed doesn't seem to bounce as much, and you're going to get the healing, and the healing will keep you up, which is better than having tons of armor, because if you can't kill anything on a Devastator, you're going to die. You'll get something from your skill life leech, but is it enough? This is much more effective, I think. So this is how I changed the class tree. I think it's great because you're getting some use out of these. This makes you a little bit more tanky. That's just a great node to pick up, and you're still picking up that. You're not picking up the firepower ones, which is just useless to you, aren't going to do anything. And it's really just saying, look, I don't care about I'm not going to do lots of damage out of Earthquake. I'm going to do the damage from my weapon mods. So that's how the build looks like, and I'll be working on the video on that. I think it seems like a reasonable build. I played it just a couple of times, and it was kicking out, arch rays in about 10 minutes, just over. I need to get better at using it because I haven't used it that much. But it's for me, it's in those bucket of, hey, this build is reasonable to use. It's not the best. You're not going to be speed running with this, but you can get through pretty much all the content that's out there in a reasonable amount of time, and and it's pretty fun to play. I mean, for me the rotation is you're hitting an Earthquake to apply bleed. You're then popping Endless Mass, or vice versa. Endless Mass and Earthquake probably works better. Then you're going into a Gravity Leap. You could do the double Gravity Leap. I'm not sure. I mean, I think they stack. but I'm not 100%. They certainly seem to stack on occasion, but it could be other things kicking in there. But in terms of doing the double jump and the despair stacking, so you get effectively 4 times the anomaly damage. But I think actually, because you've only got 5 seconds for the extra anomaly damage from the Endless Mass, I would just do 1. And I would use it. So Endless Mass, Earthquake, Gravity Leap, then hit with your nuke, and you're pretty much set in wiping stuff out. The elites go down quickly. You know, it's probably 1 to 1.5 rotation to take down an elite. So it's a great sort of one to actually do that. And yeah, I agree with you entirely. The challenge with Endless Mass seems to be when things like absorbing skin on Broodmothers and the Alpha Perforers are up, it won't work. You have to break any of that resistance or whatever that is doing before Endless Mass works. So it's a bit of a pain in the arse in that respect. Yeah, if you're fighting a Broodmother and you can get Endless Mass off straight away, great, because it will work. As soon as they get their absorbing skin out, it stops working. So there you go. That's that. So what I was going to suggest is, I haven't really tried this out in group play yet, just in solo. So I'm probably going to be crap at it. But if anyone wants to join me in a game, shout in the chat, and I'll pull up a game code, and we'll run a CT15. So if anyone does, let me know. If not, I'll just run some solos. Thanks, Abu. I can't take full credit for that one because it's obviously I took it from someone else. What was the name of the person? Let me look it up. I mean, they actually sent me a great comment as well on the video because it was just this really long build that they went through, which was much appreciated, and I was able to do it just from that. So who was it? Dark Spear 74863. All right, Tempest. Tempest and I can run one. I don't know, Monk. Did you want to run one? If Monk's still on, because I know that. Orion's out. Okay, let's start with Tempest and Orion. We're on a through. Let me generate a game code, and you can carry me again, Tempest and Orion, as you did last time. I think it's Felge Carp. Is that one of you guys? I think it is, isn't it? Doing Horus at the moment. But the code is, looks like an I to Z or Z, depending where you are, 0N530. Let me type it into the chat. Well, shoot. All right, I can probably just invite you, can't I? Hey. There you go, I'll send an invite. Let me just put this in the chat just in case you couldn't get that around. I2Z0N530. Awesome. There he is, looking good. From recollection, you do all your damage for Earthquake, so you're going to prove me wrong now, aren't you, Tempest? Dear. It's just a gut feel. I just feel that, and there's right. I just feel that, the Devastator, because you can't. I mean, you think about it with the Pyro. Let's cue us up. The Pyro, you've got the Ikari gear set that lets you get your. Let's do something relatively easy so I can get into this build. No, yeah, I know I've seen you last time, which is good. I mean, and that's why you need those sort of weapons that you're just using the skills on. Which reminds me, I've got to make sure. One thing I always sometimes forget to do as well is not to set up the Moaning Winds Radiation Splash nuke. But yeah, I just think you can ramp your anomaly power up so high with the Pyromancer. And you just can't do that with the Devastator. They just didn't put those nodes in there in the same way, or the gear set. I mean, even when you think about the gear sets, Yeah, but when you come on, whatever one you want, really. Right, let's see how this works. Okay, let's wait until they get in. I'm just going to hit one of them like that. So that's working. And of course, you can't kill them all before I get there, guys. It's outrageous. All right. See, pull them in. Pop that. All right. It's doing okay. I don't think it's brilliant. All right. Let's try and catch up with you lot. Have you killed everyone yet? I'll just mop them up at the back here. Oh, that's pretty nice damage from that, isn't it? So you're doing 500,000 for each of the Shadow Comet and Claymore. See, there you go. That was where my Endless Mass didn't work properly. Pop that. Okay, I killed all of them nicely. Okay. That one worked. So 3.3 million from the new. I know you can probably get it up. So I think the guy was saying you can get it up to. I hate it when you actually run out of ammo like that. You can get it up to about 6 million if you can stack it up properly. All right. Where's the last one? No, out of range. All right. It's got a lot of health actually, haven't I, here with 30,000 health. Okay, there's no point doing an endless mash here. Pop that on there. Alright, let's see if we can pull that one. Alright. Oh, that's rubbish. Okay. Alright. Yeah, you see that resisted again. Alright, we've got one off. Should die, yep. Leave them to play with that one. Hey Robert, hey, nice to see you. Yeah. One thing I must do better on actually when I'm playing this build is don't necessarily need to kill them off because the bleed will take them out pretty well. Bleed's doing about 13 to 15,000 of damage, which is not bad. Right, I'll get the crawler. course, I've let it drop. Amateur. Thank you. All right. The old classic hanging in the sky like Superman. Cracks me out when he does that and falls off the cliff. Alright, where's the last one? Oh well. Stuck in this tree. Alright, nice. So there you go, we've got to work on that so we can get down to about 4 minutes or whatever the speed run record is. 7 minutes 41 now. Yeah, getting the rotation is just something, I think we'll say with all these builds, you just have to keep practicing them so you get used to it. And I always struggle because I jump between builds just so much. But yeah, the thing about that is you can see it doesn't do as much damage, obviously, as if you're running solo. But it still was doing okay. Just, it wasn't as punchy on the elites, I found. Let's look at it stacked up in terms of the damage compared to the guy carrying us, Tempest. All right. So it was, I mean, I think with a bit of practice, it's definitely. I'll tell you what, your accuracy, Tempest, you got to work on that. 10%. Come on. but yeah, I mean, it was like, I mean, this is what I said. I think this is it's a reasonable build. It's not the best build in the world. Do I have Captain Hunter? I do, yes. It does have Captain Hunter on there. And where the damage is coming from, you can see it's, Claymore, Shadow, and then Moaning Winds and Radiation Splash. It's, and the bleed actually is pretty significant there. But the Earthquake, I don't want to buff it. It's just too low. Whereas you look at Tempest's build, and it's all coming from his Earthquake. So you can stack it up. I mean, both using obviously Seismic Commander to get to get there. So that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, your Untamed Power is a really good. I mean, it's an underrated mod, I think. Yeah, particularly when you can stack up your anomaly power to anywhere near reasonable levels. So it's going to do 30% of anomaly power every time you use a skill, and it hasn't got a cooldown as far as I'm aware. It certainly doesn't say anything in the tooltips, so you can do it as often as you like. So let's run one more on this 3 today, and then we'll bring in Abu on the next one. Yep. Let's do a nice easy one. Archways. No, we can't do that. Well, we'll do Drought Palace. I was playing with a friend who's he got the game way back when it first came out, and then yeah, you can do tempers, and then he hadn't really played it, and he just got to challenge to the expeditions. I think it was sort of in the last couple of weeks. Hey Grandma, how you doing? Good to see you. And he'd never done a Drought Palace, so of course the first time doing it, and he's loving it actually. I mean, he'd gone away for a bit. It was back when he was playing it first, when we had all the timers, and I just don't think he was finding it as much fun. But without the timers, just loving it. I'm going to go right. Ooh, nice. Let's take these guys. See if I can get a... Yep, got it on him. There you go. I mean, that's reasonable, isn't it, for it to take it out and racing basically one rotation. That's interesting, is it? When they have Sanctuary on them, they resist the... You killed them all. Tempest, you bugger. Sorry, yeah, when they have the Sanctuary on, they actually resist it, which is interesting. Didn't see that. Looked like it was about 3 million hit on there. I'm just not getting up to the 6 million I wanted to. I tell you, I have utmost admiration for those people who can play the games and just commentate the whole time. It's so difficult to do. And those who can commentate and make it interesting, wow, they're very talented. All right. All right, I should kill him, I think. Yeah, nicely glitch. Better. You can reload anytime now. Thank you. Better. All right. Yeah, the 3 turrets with blighty rounds is, I think, one of the strongest builds out there, Grey Mark. Yeah, that's very, very, very effective. I mean, it's just great for crowd control as well. I mean, they just can't get anywhere near you, really. Yeah, any second now, I think my stepdaughter's going to arrive home. Oops, sorry. Whoa. Pay attention, was. Can I just say, I think Tempest is just, he's hogging all the kills up there. It's outrageous, blatant attempt to top the damage charts again. Yeah. Dude, it's almost embarrassing. Yeah, here we are, me and Ryan, we're doing all the hard work. I mean, technically, I'm just hiding behind a column at the moment, so. How are we doing? Oh, almost there. Yeah, righty. Right, I need to see you. Be careful. One thing I always forget is when you reload your ammo like that, your Moaning Wind's radiation splash drops off, so you have to be careful just to reset it if you are using it when you reload one of the ammo boxes. Probably my favourite part. Well, one of my favourite parts. Oh, you yeah. Thanks, Tempest. That's outrageous. I might need a little bit of help with these ones. All right, that was pretty solid. I'm actually impressed, though, that you were able to type that while you're still playing. That's the great thing of actually having a mic and not having to actually type it in. I'll wait until we're in the middle of the action again and drop something else in. Down. Nice. Very nice, easy run. Yeah, the warlords did go down pretty quick there. There's a lot of debuffs going on. All right, just got to let my door in, so that's good timing. All right, brilliant. It's a good time as well, actually. I've got a nasty feeling I forgot to dismantle everything last time around, so I probably just wiped out my stash in one go. All right, so let's get Abu in here, if that's how you pronounce it. Apologies if it's slightly different. So look, it's, I mean, again, I said it's a perfectly reasonable build actually. Yeah, somewhere they're all pretty similar. Again, Tempest's build just doing that little bit extra. Yeah, no, I think Quartermaster is a pretty underrated mod. I mean, because Quartermaster works with the minigun as well, and the RPG, the Tool of Destruction. Pretty similar sort of output from me on that one. I think I've got to, the one thing I'm not doing really well is on the Moaning Winds nuke. I'm not getting that into the rotation quite well. Thanks, Tempest. Who wants to, are you going to drop out, Tempest? Or you have? Okay, let me, Ryan, if you want to stay on, and I'll get you a code for you, Abu, and you can jump in and join us. All right. Ooh. Looks like I'll put it into chat again, but 13P4Q476. Let me know if you get that, Abu, or if it works. And yeah, if you're on Xbox, anyone wants to just send me a friend request, please do. I'm very happy to. Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone else. I don't think there is. Monk was on earlier saying he'd never he'd never finished the CT15. So if he's around, still shout. But I think we're. I'm not sure we are. Did we get Abu? Didn't quite come in there. Do you need a new code? No. Still there? Ah, there we go. Oh yes, I've seen the Deep Abyss before. All right, let's run this. Yeah, last time. What should we go for? Let's go for Marshall's Complex. I like that one. Awesome. Let's do it. Still no news on World Slay, if anyone was interested. Yeah, I've not seen anything. I'm sort of monitoring everything and nothing. I mean, I think they said that they would be announcement in spring. So I'm kind of hopeful that, oh, damn, I didn't do that, that we get some sort of announcement within the next probably 2 months. Hopefully what that's going to do is just say, okay, this is what's coming out. So this is when it's going to be released, if we're lucky. Ouch. Look at that trickster go. All right. The elite does not want to trigger that. Oh God. You can reload any time now. I don't mind. Let me set these guys up here. Okay, that was pretty nice. The elite kill. Well, I suspect someone helped me. Ooh, is that an eruption? Yeah, sweet. I haven't seen an eruption recently. Alright, I'm going to take this guy out of here. Alright. One elite left. Ah, we missed one. Okay. Excuse me a sec. I tell you what, spring can't come soon enough. It's too damn cold. Ooh, nice one. I got back from Denver yesterday, and here in New York it was 21 degrees, and I'm just like, enough already. We need some warm weather. Of course, middle of summer I'll be going, it's too hot, for sure. I think I forgot to do my inventory again. Awesome. Oh, I fell off. Sorry about that. Everyone's skills missed. Oh, Detroit. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's always cold in Detroit. Middle of summer it's cold in Detroit, isn't it? Yeah, I've never been to Detroit. I think the closest, obviously, I think would have been Chicago, and God, yeah, going there in the middle of winter is just insane. Right, I'm going to go left to the bridge. Interesting, the snipers didn't shoot, but... Alright, that works quite well. So it does work. It works quite nicely when you can stack them up properly. Trying to avoid all of those anomaly barrels. Oh, those, I hate those. Nice. Okay, Captain Stinkeye. It's interesting how they put these, you know, like the Shaman Warlord in Wellspring, but they put these ones that clearly have way more resistance and armor than normal elites into the new expeditions. It looks like you got a little bit of pain on that one on the on your time rift. It looks like it was clicking in that damage. It's great. I love that mod. I think that's a great little mod and makes the Trickster really quite strong at AoE. I think that was a 4 million hit there, so it's I'm getting the rotation slowly. One of the annoying things, and actually I think that's why the Roaring Umber is a better way to stack your Moaning Winds, is when you get hit like that and it knocks you out of range after you've started the reload process. It's just downright annoying. No. That's it. nicely done. Alright, it's alright. Not the fastest time, but solid. Oh yeah, let me quickly. Look at that, everything's full. They really need to put like an optimization station in the game, don't they? So you can at least level up some of your gear. Similar to the Division. Because otherwise, you just end up with a whole load of crap. Ooh. Right, I'm there. Got it. Alrighty, let's do one more. Anyone else who wants to join us, wants to jump in? Let us know in the next couple of minutes. I think this might be the last run. There you go, actually, there you go. Did alright there on the damage. Yeah, see, I think it's a solid build. It's definitely a solid build. So look out the video later in the week. I'll put one out. So I think it's doing enough damage. It's holding its own pretty well in group play as well as solo. So I think it's definitely worth it. It's pretty similar to a lot of the other ones out there. Yep. Yeah, the stats are sort of pretty much the same. It's your Claymore Torrent, Shadow Comment that do most of the damage there. Pain Transfer, Temporal Blade. Nice. Oh, yes, I love a little bit of pain. Look at that, 35 million damage from it. It's a great little mod. Right, what should we finish off with? Guess we can go for Scorched Lands. Should bet this pretty quickly. Now, I hope you all know the glitch or the way to beat Scorched Lands just a little bit quicker at the end. So in the last phase, not last phase, penultimate phase. So after you've triggered the draining of the water out of the lake, if you leave at least one venomous Porphyra alive, then when all the other enemies die, it immediately takes you through to the final boss with no other adds. So it's just a little bit of a, you know, a bit of a cheese, I guess is the expression, isn't it? So it just helps to save a couple of minutes on your times, which is always useful. Of course, you've got to try and leave that venomous Porphyra alive. It's very hard. Sometimes you end up just killing them by accident. It's not the end of the world. There isn't a massive amount of ads on that last bit, but certainly it can just take a couple of minutes off your time. God, this guy doesn't want to die, does he? It's almost like he had extra armor or something. Get out of the way. God. Yeah, this is where you see the issue with endless mass can have, because that bounce multiple times off those alphas makes it a little bit more difficult when it does that. Be short of that, mate. Alright. But there, where the absorbing skin had gone down, they picked it up and we could then. Alright, got that on through. Get the bleeds applied. Haha, missed it. Oh, that's not a bad time actually. Anywhere when you're at 3 minutes getting through this one is pretty good. Well, multiple surges by the looks of it there. Interesting. Alright, he went down quite nicely. Very good. Ooh, nice phaser beam coming through there. I think Eruption is probably one of the best looking skills in the game. It just doesn't quite hit as hard as I'd like it to. Ooh, that was a nice one. Is that thermal bomb in there as well? That's where I don't know if you all saw there, everything basically just disappearing. That was from the timer for a little bit of pain on there, just doing great damage, great AoE damage. Very nice skill that. Or sorry, mod I should say. On the Trickster. That's kind of got multiple moaning winds all hitting at the same time. Very nice one. Okay, just gonna reset this. Okay. That was Oh, completely missed my shot. Oh. He did not want to do it. All right, so it's on this next stage. So we drop the water. If you leave one venomous or one or two venomous before us alive, but kill everything else, then it immediately takes you on to the final boss with no ads whatsoever, which is quite a nice way to do it. Just a little bit tricky because, you know, when there's so much damage flying around, can you actually keep one alive? Particularly with all the AoE damage that's going around with these builds. Alright, so that one's still alive. Birds are coming down. There you go, that's not bad. So it's almost a 4 million nuke. Again, I think if you do it perfectly, you can get up to 6 million, which would be ideal. Alright, leave that before us over there by the stairs if we can. Hopefully it dies. It certainly works on solo. I must admit, I haven't tried it on groups yet, but I'm assuming it still works. I think we killed him. That's the problem. There's so much damage flying around. But trying to keep them alive is tough when you're in a group. Much easier on solo when you can sort of take all the enemies away from them. It'll work. Okay, great Tempest. Yeah, it's just tricky, isn't it? When all that damage is flying around, particularly AoE damage. Solo, it's much easier because you can just literally just leave one up on the top of the cliff and then you're good. die from the bleed. Alright, he's got the last one. Alright, nice. Yeah, agree. Agree. Did I clear out my... Yeah, no. God. Come on. Spend an hour cleaning out my stash now. Not as bad as Destiny, I guess. At least you've only got 100 in your stash. You see those videos where they've got 500 items in their vault in Destiny, and then they're buggered. Any of you guys going to be playing Witch Queen when it comes out in just over, is it weeks? It's a week's time, isn't it? 22nd is out. I'm not yet certain. I must admit, I dropped out of Destiny a while ago, and I find yeah, thanks for the runs, guys. That was really good. I find it's really hard to get back into Destiny because it's just so much going on, and in terms of, yeah, I've missed storylines, and suddenly I tried starting up again recently, and there were 3 storylines. There you go. Hey, very consistent damage across the board from the 3 of us. That's nice. But yeah, as I said, I think this is a reasonable build. I'll get a video out there within the next few days. So let me just wrap things up. Thanks for playing, Tempest, Orion. Abu, brilliant, great stuff. That was really good fun. If you're on Xbox, do send me a friend request. I know Tempest, we're already connected. It'd be great if if I'm on, and I'm on quite often, just to join up and play some. So that was great. So the plan for this week is what happened? What happened, Abu? What? I don't know what happened. Hey, how did that happen? Let me know what happened. Yeah, it was great, Temper. So yeah, I'll get those. Mine won't even mark now at the moment. It's glitched. Anyway, so I'll get the video out on this build later in the week. The video on the weapon mods, which we ran through today. So if anyone's jumping in now, I know we've just gone up to 7 people, fun enough, just at the end of the stream. If you missed the start, it's going to be out. It'll be on the channel fairly shortly. Oh, you had a damage. Oh, nice one, Abu. Good for you. Good stuff. I mean, it's you obviously got a nice build there. But yeah, so the weapon mods will probably be coming out within the next day or so. I'm about halfway through that one. This build will come out probably by the end of the week, and then I'll also get a video out on Tiny Tina and why you should play it, or not, as the case may be. But that will be coming out a little bit later, maybe towards the weekend. So thanks very much, everyone, for joining me. It's been really, really good fun. And thanks for doing the runs with me, guys. That was really, really good. And I will see you all. I shall be back on Friday, focusing on Division 2. Got to try and get up to speed on that one. We got the Season 8 just released, re-released, but getting up to speed on that for Heartland, which now looks like it's coming sooner than we think. And then I'll be back next Tuesday for another Outriders stream. Cheers. Thanks a lot, everyone.